I'm Chris McMillan, and I will do a long trail. So I got my BA from Hampshire College in dance. I got my MFA in experimental choreography from the Le Conservatory in London, and I got my PhD from King's College in London. And my doctorate is in religious studies, but my master's is in experimental choreography. As a Grantwood Fellow, I teach choreography, I co-direct our touring company, Dancers and Company, and I sort of teach theory classes as well. And that's sort of what I do. Religion comes into all of aspects of my work, but at the moment I'm working more in performance arts with our students here. The most that I knew about was the writers program. About Iowa was the writers program, but I didn't know that there was a whole wealth of things happening here that are exciting and useful and interesting. But now I feel like I can be an ambassador for the program. I can tell people all about Grantwood and his famous paintings, and having lived on the colony, I feel like I've lived in the spaces that he's touched, and I feel invited to continuously work on my own artistic practice and see that my practice touches communities and that I'm touched by those same communities. So here, while I've been in Iowa, in residency here in Iowa, I've started the creation of Black Locust, which is a recreation of her 1975 work, Locust. And so in essence, Tricia Brown has a cube structure, and she uses points in space and numbers to create a choreography. I remove her numbers and her letters, and I put people who've been affected by police violence, and particularly people of African descent who've been affected by police violence in the cube structure. And using that same sort of methodology of making work, I make a new work called Black Locust. And this is the first time in the company's history that they're allowing someone who's not a member of the company to reconstruct one of Tricia Brown's early choreographies. I feel pushed. So I identify as a choreographer, and what I mean by that is I think I make dances. But part of the Grantwood program is there are two other artists who are in residency with me, and those two artists are visual artists. And so I feel pushed by their practice to make now visual art, which the piece I was sort of telling you about at first, Locust, is being made for the gallery space. So it's not actually being made for proscenium, which is where we usually premiere and show choreographies. So I'm being impacted by my colleagues' art practices and being asked to think about my own making in a different way, and in a way that I would not have thought about if I had not been here. So all of a sudden, the Grantwood Fellowship not only became the conduit to which I get a tenure-track job, which is unheard of, but also it's changed the way I think about my own artistic practices, and serves as like a catalyst for moving my work, my research, my artistic work forward, and even my thinking forward. And just the rigor that's here. There's a misconception on the East Coast that like all the good dancing is happening in New York and all the good students are in New York, but I've found that there is rigor here in our dance program, and there's rigor with the Dancers and Company, and this idea of really crafting and working on a piece over and over and over again until it's like almost perfect. I mean, it's never perfect, but we can get closer to perfect. And so I feel like that work is really pushing. I'm inspired by them. I'm inspired by the dancers I serve. And in some ways, it feels like we're in this process together. And they require of me to be a better teacher, a better choreographer, and a better director. Probably one of the more exciting things I found is how nice and open people are, even to the ideas as somewhat controversial. They're overly warm, they're overly excited, particularly in the more rural towns. We were in Washington, Iowa, on Friday, and just the overwhelmingly warmth and people excited to see the company and excited to converse and ask questions and try to understand the creative process, and that's pretty exciting. So much so that I recently accepted a tenure-track job here at the University of Iowa. So Iowa will be my home for the foreseeable future. And the Grantwood Fellowship really set me up for that. And really sort of helped me be a part of this community in such a way that the university asked me to stay. And so that's exciting, and it's really rare that happens. But I like it here, and the university likes me, and Grantwood is an important part of that experience for me. I'm excited about so many things. I'm excited about continuously to tour Locust internationally and nationally after I toured in Iowa. I'm excited about developing and educating Iowans. And not only with myself, but participating in the development and education of Iowans. I'm excited about finally having a place to call home, having been abroad and moving around for a good portion of my 20s and early 30s. Um, and I'm excited about my colleagues. I really enjoy my colleagues, and I love our students. So it feels like a series of very fortunate events.